my country. So I wanted to make a video concerning my state of mind right now regarding my faith in Christianity. And I also want to use this medium to encourage other people that are facing similar issues as me, or to also encourage people that are just facing different um situations in their lives. So guys, I have been going through it emotionally and mentally. I've been going through it. I have been emotionally stressed out. And a lot is going on in the world today. A lot is going on in the world today. I've heard about the hantavirus that is currently spreading. Should I use the word spreading? That is currently prevalent in the Western Hemisphere in the US. And when I heard that, I was so shocked. When I heard that, I was so shocked. I was like, what's hantavirus? So there's going to be another lockdown. And I remember last year, 2025, I went on my WhatsApp and I started telling people there's going to be a lockdown in 2025. There's going to be a lockdown. But then there was no lockdown in 2025. So I just brushed it off because something in my heart kept telling me there's going to be a lockdown. So I just brushed it off. But then, now that we're in 2026, I'm starting to really believe that there's going to be another lockdown. And I don't know if I'm ready for a lockdown yet. I don't know if I'm ready for a lockdown. But I do know that a few years ago, I prayed to God and I told God, Father, before you come to this world during the end times, before you come, please, can you please put us in a lockdown? Because when there's a lockdown, there's going to be less distractions. People are going to be more focused in what is in front of them rather than being focused on their daily lives, going to work and everything. I remember praying to God, like, I think 2 years ago, and I told him to please put us in a lockdown before he comes. But I did not expect everything to happen so fast. This was like 2 years ago. Like I was not expecting everything to happen so fast, and it's kind of emotionally draining. I'm not going to lie. And I'm making this video because I want to talk about how I'm really struggling with my Christian faith, and I've been feeling this way for quite some time. But of course, I have to just give it up to God. I have to just pray over it and move on. But I've been feeling this way and I want to make this video, and I also want to encourage people both in my Christian faith and to kind of like give people that support, show them that they're not the only persons that are going through certain kind of emotional feelings. Because I get that there's so many things are happening around the world right now, and I get that so many chaos is going on around the world right now. Like you come on social media, you come online, and there's always something negative to talk about. You come online and there's always something negative that that happens. It's like these days you sleep and you wake up and there's always going to be something negative to expect the next day. And it's really sad. I woke up this morning and I woke up very early and I couldn't really sleep. And I just started complaining and complaining and venting to God. And I know that as a Christian, complaining and venting is not going to do anything. But sometimes I just give into my human self and I just do it. I'm just praying for myself and I'm just praying for my fellow Christians. And I pray and I just want to say, please, my fellow Christians, please pray for me because this fight, this walk, this Christian walk is not an easy journey. Like, if it wasn't because of my strong belief in God and knowing that Christianity is real and God is the true God, Jesus Christ is the one true God, I would have left Christianity a long time ago. I'm actually struggling with my faith, but I'm not making this video to try to discourage other people. Rather, I want to encourage people that feel the same way as I do. But yes, I'm struggling with my faith. I wanted to put out a video like this a long time ago, but I just kept brushing it off because I was like, what am I going to say? There's so many things about Christianity that just doesn't make sense to me. And I just pray that my fellow Christians will pray for me in this regard. I don't have any like close friends that I can talk to about these kinds of things. My sister, the only friend that I had, which I have distanced myself from her, of course, because her lifestyle is completely different from mine as a Christian. They don't get me. And the new friends that I made, they stopped talking to me because I kept posting things about Christianity, and I kept sending them videos of Christianity that they couldn't understand. So they just dropped me, and we stopped talking. So I don't really have much friends. So it's kind of like just me by myself. And I'm really scared because, sorry, I didn't mean to say scared. Like, I don't want to ramble in this video. I'm so bad at giving speeches because I ramble a lot, which is really bad. I'm so bad at it. And I'm trying to remember everything. Like, before I picked up my phone to make this video, I knew everything I was going to say, but now I'm trying to like make it flow, and it's really not flowing. And I hate this so much because I don't want to like bore the people that are watching. But like, yeah, I've been struggling with my Christian faith, and I'm not the only one. I've seen people basically saying the same things, especially on TikTok. And you come across videos, and they're making like reasonable points as to why one should leave the faith. They are making reasonable points as to why people should leave Christianity. But because of my fear of God, and because I don't want to end up in hell, I ignore those videos, and I just pray to God to give me the strength to keep being a Christian. And the Bible says, will the Son of Man find faith on the earth when he returns? Even in the midst of all the chaos, will the Son of Man find faith on the earth when he comes? I'm trying to be the Christian that would still have faith in God regardless of all the chaos and regardless of all the wrongs that are going on in the world today. I'm trying to be that Christian that would still be. I'm trying to be that Christian that would still have faith in the Lord, that would still love the Lord even with everything going on. But it's not easy. And I just pray that if other Christians can come across this video of mine, that they will pray for me, that they will put me in their prayers. Because deep down in my heart, I kind of just want to walk away. But the Bible says there's a way that seems right to a man, but that way only ends up in destruction. Now, I am someone that has gone through a lot in my life. I have gone through some kind of stuff because we all go through stuff, right? And growing up, I used to think that because of everything that I've gone through in my life, that the Lord would reassure me as I got older, that the Lord would reward me as I grew older. And now I'm getting older. I'm 25. I'll be 26 in 2 months, and I I don't. I feel like I'm one step closer to all my goals. Like I'm one step closer to achieving everything that I've ever wanted to achieve. But something just keeps getting in the way every single time. Something just keeps getting in the way every single time. Every single time I try to get closer to my goals. Every single time that I try to take one goal from my goal post and move on to another one, something keeps getting in the way. Growing up as a teenager and even as a young girl, things were not always easy for me. Like, I don't want to put myself out there, but I grew up in a toxic house where I was always fighting with my mom. and there was always chaos in my house. There was always chaos in my house. Like I would always fight with my mom, and like I'm a twin, right? Like I said, but I don't think we're identical. Maybe some people think that we are. But yeah, I'm a twin, and me and my sister and my mom and my dad, like it's just us, right? And we would always fight and fight and fight and fight, and we would always have these arguments, and it was always heated. Like there was no peace in my house. There was no peace. And as a child, as a young girl that was like 10 years old to 12 years old, I'm 10 years old till my teenage age, I was bullied in school, and my sister was bullied as well. And we didn't have much friends, and the friends that we had were just they were just a filler. They were just with us just because of what we could give them, but they were just a filler. They were not really real friends, but we just had to just keep speaking to them just to see face. So I would come back from school, even with all the weights of, Nigerian schools are very like toxic, and they're very strenuous, and it doesn't matter if you're in high school. It doesn't matter if you're in daycare or whatever. It's always going to like they're always going to stress you. In Nigerian schools, they're going to stress you psychologically, they're going to stress you physically. So I would come back from school tired with all the bullying and all the prejudice I had faced in school. And when it's sort of me to be happy that I'm coming back home to my house so that I can rest and prepare for the next day, I'll be very sad and be even more depressed that I was coming back to my house, because I knew that if I came back to my house, that there would be no peace. Even even from straight from school, and in school I was bullied and I was facing prejudice and discrimination or whatever, and I was going through all these things. And the Nigerian teachers were always so rude, and they're always so harsh, and always give you punishments, would flog you and all of that. We had like many hours of learning with very short break. Like we didn't really have much breaks, and we only had one break, just one break in between, and it was probably just like a 20 minutes break. It wasn't really like a break, just 20 minutes break. And then after those 20 minutes break, we'd go to class and we'd just be writing and writing, because Nigerian schools are more of, there's rarely any practicals, and I like practicals. I learn more through visuals. So there's really any practicals. It's just writing, and the teachers will be dictating notes, and you just be writing it down, and your hand would literally pain you, and you'd be jotting down notes for like 4 hours. One lecture, you'd be jotting down notes for 4 hours. And those notes, not like those heavy notes, you'd be expected to read all those notes and pass all your exams. But I survived by the grace of God. And that is, honestly, now I think about it, that is what makes the Nigerian society so toxic, because the foundation of Nigeria society has always been toxic, starting from when we were kids, starting from even from our parental household. So I would come back from school out of all the stress, and I didn't even have any friends in school. Like I said, like the people that I called my friends would only come to me when they wanted me to give them stuff, and and after I would give them stuff, I wouldn't see them anymore. So I was basically mostly by myself, and then I would face bullying, I would face insults from my peers and all of that, and they would mock me. And as soon as I went back to my house, instead of me to be happy that I'm going back to my house, I would still feel sad, because I knew I was coming back to another round of bullying from my own family, from my own mother. And I'll go back to my house, and right from me walking into the gate, there would always be so much chaos and turmoil, and my mom would start yelling and yelling, because as soon as she sees us, something just goes off in her, and she just starts yelling, and she becomes angry. And I've spoke about zodiac signs before, and as a Christian, I know I'm not supposed to believe in zodiac signs. I don't follow zodiac signs per se, but I know that they are real, they are spirits. So I don't really want to blame my mom, but sometimes you just kind of like, as human beings, we have free will. So you just kind of want to tell another human being to please take accountability for their actions, because I do take accountability for my own actions. So um, my mom being the person who is born under Capricorn zodiac sign, you know that they are very um loud and very aggressive. They can be nice to you if they feel like you are if you are on the same page with them, they are nice to you. But if you're not on the same page with them, they are very aggressive and they're very mean and they're very rude and they're very boisterous and they're very insultive, and they never get tired. They have energy for days to continue attacking you. And then, like, my mom never gets tired of talking, and my mom's voice is very loud. Like, I've never heard any other person in our neighborhood shouting the way she shouts, but her voice is literally as loud as a JBL speaker, as a megaphone. Like, I'm not even trying to exaggerate. My mom's voice is so loud. The only time she reduces her voice is when she's trying to maybe gossip, or when she's trying to talk about her secrets and she doesn't want people in the house to know. But if not, she's ready to yell from the top of her lungs and she doesn't care. So I coming back to my house from school, which was very stressful. I would come back to my house to rest and I would still face my mom and her wahala and her antics and her drama. And then my house, as in African household, you must have we have house chores, and this was in the early 2000s. So you have house chores, and this was in the early to mid 2000s. Actually, in the early 2000s, I was a kid. So this was in the mid 2000s. So in an African household, we have house chores, and you're to wash dishes and sweep the house and clean the house. And yeah, so even before every morning before I went to school, I would sweep the house and clean the house, and I would leave for school. And that was so stressful because of course, as a young child, we hate house chores, and our parents always have to yell, "Oh, go and do this." But coming back from school and coming to my house, I expect to rest because Nigerian schools are already traumatizing as it is. Like, Nigerian schools traumatized me. Nigerian schools are already traumatizing as it is. And coming to my house, I expect to rest. I expect to eat. But I walk into the kitchen and there's no food. I have to like start preparing food for myself. And then I go into the kitchen. I see the heaps of plates that are literally heaped in the sink for me to wash, and I'm not even allowed to rest. I have to go straight into that kitchen and start washing plates and washing all those plates. And I hated doing the dishes so much. I hated washing plates so much because they were just so depressing. And you have to stand for hours washing plates, and you'd wash them and stack them in one place, and then after that you have to rinse them and then start setting them on the plates drawers or something. So it was always traumatizing for me. I hated washing plates. I would always tell my mom that, please, that let me just clean the house. I hated washing plates so much, but it was something that you had to do. And you would wash plates in the morning, and in the afternoon, another heap of plates would would come in because so many people lived in our house as Africans then, when Africans were still much more social. Now everyone is trying to live that Western lifestyle. But back then, when everyone was still social and there was a sense of community, your cousins, your aunties, your aunts, like your uncles, they can literally come to your house and stay in your house for months, and they would not go back. They can literally come to your house and stay in your house for months, for days, for weeks, and they would not go back until you are ready to go back. In fact, they could decide to start living in the same house with you, eating the same food and everything, and they would not go back. So in such a household, there would always be heaps of plates in the kitchen, because like when you eat food and you also have to drink this and do that, and then for us Africans, we eat swallow, and it's in and like, I don't even know if I should, like, because I like to like say things in details, but I could just be rambling, and I don't want this video to be boring for those that are viewing. But yeah, like, there would be heaps of plates because of the amount of people that are in the house, and then you would have to wash them. You would come back from school and you'd be tired, and you would still have to go and wash those plates. And immediately after washing the plates, my mom would tell me to go outside and fetch water. So I would go outside because we have two drums of water, two bowls. I don't know. I guess people outside they call it bowls, but we call it drum in my country. We call it drums. So there'll be two drums or two um barrels, sorry, not bowls. They call it barrels. Like, I think the Western people call it barrels. So we had two barrels in our house, and we had to fill up those barrels with water every time we came back from school. And because of there were so many people living in our house, the water would always finish every single day. So every single day I came back from school, and usually used to come back from school by 6 p.m. because my parents did not raise me up to be very independent. As a teenager, even at the age of 15, even at the age of 14, my parents preferred to come to school, to carry me from school, rather than allow me to come back using the the public transport because they would always feel like, oh, that someone would kidnap me. So they would always use this excuse, oh, you look so innocent, like I don't want anything to happen to you, so you have to wait. We'll come to school and pick you up. And then sometimes the school would dismiss by 12 p.m. and my parents would leave me in school until 6 p.m. There are times when they even left me there till 7 p.m., almost 8 after 7. So my parents would leave me to school by 6 p.m. The entire school would have gone home because back then in the mid 2000s, things were kind of different, like from how things are now. And back then, students were much more independent. Teenagers were much more independent. So it was most teenagers and most adolescents, they used to come back on their own. And people used to make fun of me and my sister because we were the only students out of like, I'm not even trying to exaggerate. Like I said, things were so different then. So we were the only students out of all the entire school, um all the entire students in the school. We were the only students that our parents would come to. Sorry, I'm rambling. We are the only students that our parents would like carry with a car. How do I say it? How do I say it in a way that it makes sense? Me and my sister were the only students in the entire school that their parents would come to school to pick them up. Every other students, they would always go back. Like I remember that I would see most of my friends, they would just be like gisting and discussing, and they would be going back to school on their own, and they would be laughing. And then me and my sister would just be under a mango tree because we didn't have friends. Like I said, the friends would always come to us when they wanted something from us. So they would just we would see other students laughing and talking and gisting, and they'll be going back home on their own. Like they'll be going back home on their own. And me and my sister would just sit down in a mango tree. There was this that I used to sit down there. We'll sit down there and wait for our parents. We wait for our parents. They would not come to pick us. They would still not allow us to come back on our own, even though we were other students with our fellow students. They were like, no. And anytime we tried to come back from school on our own, our parents, especially my mom would hit us, my mom would flog us. I'm still coming to that. So me and my sister would just stay under that mango tree, that lonely mango tree, and we would just sit and we would watch other people laughing with their friends and gisting and discussing and having these discussions and these laughs, and they would be going back on their own, and then we would have to sit down there and wait for our parents to show up. And sometimes our parents would not even come. They would leave us there till like 7 p.m. In fact, at first, it seemed like it was a mistake until it started happening recurrently. It started becoming the norm. So most of the times, my dad, who was the one that was most of the time that was supposed to come and pick us up, would come to school by 6:30 or by 7 after 7 to come and pick us up. A school that dismissed by 12. And me and my sister would sit down there and we would just be complaining and we would just be talking about how we hate our life and how we feel suicidal and all these things. And we would just sit down under that mango tree complaining about our life, about how we hate our life. And then before we know it, my dad would show up around that kind of 6:30, 7:30, and then he would take us back home. A school that is by 12. When I literally have two legs, and I could have just gone home with my friends. Because I would literally see my quote unquote friends going back on their own, laughing and gisting. But me and my sister would be the only one remaining in the entire school. In the entire school. We'd be the only ones remaining in the entire school. And so my mom, who is the more aggressive out of both of my parents, even though my dad kind of seems like a covered narcissist sometimes, but my mom is the more aggressive one. So my mom, there are times when my mom would come to pick us from school. And she knows that we are used to our dad picking us from school, and our dad would always come to pick us from school very late. So there are times when I started like going off with my friends. We would just go off and we just stay somewhere. Some of them would decide to just stay with us, while we are waiting for our parents, and they would just like be discussing with us and we'd be laughing. And so there are times my mom would come to school because my mom is very like punctual. So she would come very early and then she would wait for us. And then maybe she would wait for us for like an hour or 30 minutes. And somebody like back then we really it was people not everyone would use phones, especially in Nigerian schools. We had phones then, but we didn't always use them. So because the teachers would punish you if you came to school with a phone. So my parents could not call me and tell me, oh, I'm waiting for you, come out. So my mom would come to school unbeknownst to us. We never knew that she was coming to pick us. And she would wait for us for like 30 minutes or 1 hour. And then later on, when we finally realized that okay, my mom is waiting for me, let me go and see her. Oh, I didn't expect her to pick us up from school because my dad is always the one picking us from school. He normally picks us up from school very late. So when we would go to meet her, my mom would literally greet us with a slap, and then she would get a very long cane and tell us to kneel down in front of the entire school, and she would try to there was a time she tried to flog us. How did I pause this again? Sorry guys, my mom just walked inside the room, my room. My mom just walked inside my room. So, and I'm not saying this to shame my mom because I've actually forgiven my mom and now we get along, even though it's still like, as a human being, these things get to you. Sometimes there are times when I'll just randomly remember something my mom did to me and I will become very angry, but I just have to forgive her because I'm a Christian and as a Christian, you must forgive. So, back to what I was saying. My mom, she came into the room right now. That was why I had to pause. Sorry. So, this video is not to slander her. I want to talk about my entire life, and I want to encourage other people that are willing to listen. Because I don't know if people are going to want to listen to this video, but I want to encourage others that are willing to listen, and I want others to pray for me as well. This video is going to be touching my childhood, and it's also going to be touching my Christian faith and my experiences and the things I've had to deal with, and some moral lessons and kind of like some words of encouragement for fellow Christians, or even not just fellow Christians, but honest to every human being out there. Because I do pray for each and every one of us to make heaven. Because after everything we've had to go through on earth, I don't wish for anyone to end up in hell. So I pray that this video somehow inspires or ministers to people. My mom is literally at the backyard and I don't want her to hear me. So exhausting. But yeah, this video is not to slander her because I've forgiven her, and my mom, she believes that we both get along fine. So seeing this video, or if this video should kind of like go viral, I don't want it to cause any kind of issues. I just want to encourage somebody out there that is willing to listen to this video and share similar um experiences as I do. So my mom, she would really honestly, there used to be a pause, but I don't think there's any pause. I'm actually trying to pause this video because my mom is at the backyard and I don't want her to hear me. Sorry, hold on.